this kind of art district kind of thing, cultural villages where artists own studios and whatnot. What's the problem with the artists today? Kan? They don't own any asset. Their asset is actually a bunch of paintings and whatnot, canvases. Kan? But the Malaysian society does not respect if you own 100 canvases. Malaysian society respect if you own a house. Yeah. And then the financial institution respect you if you have a property, you have a house, you can mortgage. And then raise that money to go and buy more canvases. But if you don't have a house, you don't have any asset, the Malaysian financial institution do not accept artworks as collateral. Maybe only 3 or 4 artists in the country can be collateralized.
Yeah, that's
so so which is why it's very important to write about the artists, because then there is a reference material for this young investment banker or young credit officer in a Maybank will say, oh, there are 10 articles about Latif Muhyiddin. Okay, maybe he's worth a few $100,000. You look at the auction market, the price discovery, okay, he's $400,000. Okay, I give this guy a loan for $300,000. So there is some kind of valuation of it. But if you don't write about the artists, how do you know?
Yeah, I was getting into that because at one time when I was running Galeri Chandan, financing is difficult.
Yeah,
they cannot find a way. And I was talking to My Creative Ventures. They were trying to figure out a way to finance art ventures. But you can't escape from the collateral type of financing.
You can't escape. So you can't escape because the banks don't accept paintings as collateral. The insurance company don't want to insure a painting.
Exactly.
So your collateral, your canvas of few $100,000 worth is for the financial industry is worth nothing. Yeah, so this is the problem, kan? So
the Madani government should take this role?
No, because the Madani are twofold. The role is to assertize all these things,
cultural,
and monetize it, give value to it. But far more important is to underpin their campaign. Their campaign of become Madani is civilization. No civilization exists in the world without culture. Without culture, so there's a given, right? But why they're not doing it? But there's a given. No civilization in the world exists without culture.
They need more time, probably.
No, it doesn't. Where you need more time. In the old days, you need pigeons to send messages to semua, kan? But now you have the internet, so you can disseminate it faster, kan? So you don't need more time. The time is here, So that's how I think about it, lah. So in that sense, the problem with the artist, if you don't, the business is you want to expand the whole thing. You want to expand the supply side. You want to make the intermediary side viable, which is the auction market, the galleries, the writers and whatnot. These are intermediation people. And you want to make the demand side very volatile, very vibrant, very, they can see prosperity coming out. In that way, you must have a national industry, a national imperative, not so much a national imperative. And then you bring in, and then you can enlarge the diameter, the circumference of the whole creative economy to include, manufacture of batik and whatnot. Now we even struggle to say that, we have such a thing as a Malaysian batik. We struggle because then we force that, we continually suffer from identity crisis. The other side is better, we should have artists who's very proud their work is collected by the National Art Gallery rather than the Tate. Because it's irrelevant collecting the Tate. So we should be proud of that. But we don't. We don't have proud. We are proud if your work is collected by the National Gallery of Singapore, but not by the Balai Seni Negara in Jalan Tun Razak, kan? So this is the problem, is it?
I'm going to touch a little bit on Singapore after this.
I'm guilty also of that. I like to sell to the National Gallery of Singapore across the Causeway because it gives the artists that are represented their work a kind of validation, across the Causeway, kan? But why they're doing it. They're doing it for their own reason. But if the collecting budget of the National Gallery, Balai Seni Negara, which is the main functional role of Balai Seni is a repository. A repository means is to keep and also acquire more. Keep acquiring more. If their budget is roughly the same year in, year out, they're not going to buy it. They very little scope for them to actually acquire new things. I mean, that's basically a problem. So there is no. If you produce good work, you want the ideal situation is this: you produce good painting, produce a good art object, a good sculpture or whatever. There's there is an invisible underwriter ready to take it off your hands, right? You know that. I mean, that's how the stock market is. If you want to IPO your shares, you know there's an underwriter. You know somebody is going to take it off your hands. So artist should be like, the art should be like that. I mean, I know I produce a good sculpture. I can put it in my studio, and I know there'll be people queuing up through my gallery, through all the galleries, to have first right of refusal. You know, to do it. That's how it should work. And the first right of refusal should be with the institution. But if the Malaysian institution today are very reluctant to buy art, then the future is not that great. Not that great. In Indonesia, I know when I was doing business in Indonesia and whatnot, there is hardly any Indonesian corporates, big corporates or small corporates, who doesn't have some kind of a corporate art collection for their company, their company. In fact, there are many of my friends who are businessmen in Indonesia. They feel very insulted, annoyed, disappointed if they're not invited to an art opening, because that's part of the social culture. If you don't know your seni budaya, you are in trouble. You're always a foreigner. You're always foreign. You're not part of the the society.
So there should be a revival in this gerak budaya that you're talking about.
The gerak budaya is the most important to have a art should be treated as art and culture and literature should be treated as part of gerakan kebudayaan. Until that happen, we're going to be like this. We're going to be business on the fringe. Business for fringe pun pleasure for a while only.
I think that's
fringe business lah. $200 million is a 200 million ringgit turnover, annual turnover a year. It's a fringe business. I mean, come on. The guy selling coffee downstairs, they make more. Their universe is much bigger than fine arts. Much bigger than fine arts. Much bigger than arts and literature. And Zeus Coffee, they're going to IPO for R1 billion. Much bigger. They sell coffee only, So can you imagine? So the challenge is for the government to bring this. If they don't bring this up, they don't get the gerak kebudayaan coming up. I'm sorry.
We will still be in the fringes.
No, we still be. The country will be in the fringe.
In the fringes.
The country will just become a small foundry for microelectronic chips industry. That's all.
Maybe we can talk a little bit more about the ecosystem again. My understanding is, if it's an ecosystem, it is self-sustainable. So when we say that even an artist that comes out from art school kat Malaysia ni pun tak sure whether they can have an art career, that means there's a gap in the ecosystem. I mean, all start with education. Like childhood education, it start with 3 years, 5 years and whatnot. The age 3, age 5, those are critical years. And then you go to primary school. And by then, the parents more or less have relegated a little bit of their responsibility or abdicated a little bit to the teachers, to the system. So this is very important. Art teaching, you have to look at the education. The big criticism in the now is that who enter the art schools. I can only take from ITM ITM. I mean, the top students in the class doesn't really get to art school, because they don't. So normally you go to the arts class because of the emphasis on science, technology, and whatnot. So you ended up being a big player in your year at class. So, but that's okay. But that's normal in most countries in the world, everywhere in the world. But the education in Malaysia, art education now is there is lack of heterogeneity. Heterogeneous. It's very almost mono thing, because in ITM, I would imagine majority of the lecturers were students there at the same time. And now we've gone to 2 or 3 generations of graduates from ITM who ended up teaching in their own school. And they themselves may have gone overseas and whatnot, further education overseas, and they came back to teach. Fair enough. That's the trajectory of to be a teacher, to be a lecturer at the university. But
what we have now is but by doing that, what happens is that it evolves into heterogeneity. Everybody is thinking the same way.
Yeah.
The way of saying, the way of looking at things, the way of creating. What can and some, I think, from what I've seen over the last 10 years, it's clearly obvious that the teachers and the lecturers were building perimeters, perimeter fencing, what the students can do and what cannot do. So in that sense of, unfettered freedom of thinking and whatnot is actually curbed, and the students themselves undergone a kind of self-censorship, right? Which is not so great. Not so great. So what happens in that situation? The output, at the output end, when they finish off the university, they will get into a kind of mass thinking masalah, more people, everybody thinking like that. Semua orang cakap macam tu. Then the other get into a situation of mediocrity. It's a system of mediocrity. Everybody will produce a kind of art output or creative output that's largely similar to each other in terms of quality, in terms of trajectory of thinking, in terms of addressing issues of the day. So pretty much there mediocrity, mediocre. But and in some sense with the times, and also reflective of the times. If the politics of the country is mediocre, politicians are mediocre, they also become mediocre because art mirrors society, kan?
Yeah.
So and then you have a teaching staff or teaching faculty who actually perimeter fence a little bit the creative mind of the students. So you end up having a kind of I wouldn't be so cruel as to say it's a degree mill, but it's a bit like that. It's like a production line that goes out again. And then you want to expand the collector base, and you want to make the intermediary groups, the gallery, critics, valuers, art advisors and whatnot, make them to be viable participant, financially viable participant. They can have a decent career out of doing all this consulting work or the intermediation work. It doesn't work because the supply side is producing mediocrity, and then the intermediary will sell mediocrity, and the collector will buy mediocrity. Even if the collector base expanded, then there'll be a bigger mediocrity.
You need to burst the bubble,
there'll be a bubble. So you ended up buying the same things of the same standard. There's nothing. So this is the danger. The danger is actually because, again, you go back to education. And then because nobody criticized along the way. Nobody say, the popular work is actually terrible work. Nobody says that because you don't want to hurt people. And in a society that is deny itself from criticism is always a hollow society.
Emperor with
a bit of a naked emperor with no clothes on. So these are the things that happen. So
we need to disrupt this kan?
Disrupt this is strange because again, I don't really like this central command government telling us what to do. But in our situation now, we need the government to develop a scheme to assist and not to assist, to actually lead the creative industry. Otherwise, it's just going to be like that. We have to, for one of a better word, one of a better strategy, we just have to emulate Korea. I mean, pick them up because, we used to beat them in football, so it's quite good to learn something from them. So it's okay to go to Deng Xiaoping because you can say China's got money, lots of money, and China want to export soft power again. Like I always say to my gallery manager and my friends, you will never see Deng Xiaoping or Xi Jinping sign a piece of document or meet a foreign minister or something without a huge painting at the back of him.